What's up, HyperFast Nation? On this episode of the Hyper Wealth Show, I've got an amazing guest. He has owned and operated several businesses. He's been a luxury home flipper. He is now buying, rehabbing, and rejuvenating resort hotels all over the Eastern Seaboard. Welcome to the show, Josh McCallen. All right, welcome to the show today, Josh. How are you doing?
Wonderful, man. Always great to see you, Dan.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. I had a blast being on your show, and it's been too long getting you on ours. I'm excited though to get you in front of our listeners and our viewers today on YouTube because you're doing a lot of great stuff. Every time I talk to you, I'm just like overwhelmed by all the cool stuff you're doing. Before we jump into all of that, though, give the people watching and listening today a little bit of background on you, who you are, all that good stuff.
Well, it's always great to meet great people, especially hyper-fast people. By the fact that you're listening and watching hyper-fast, it means you're a get-it-done gal or a guy. So thank you. Yeah, I think that's our DNA too, Dan. That's why you and I are such good compadres. We'd like to get things done. Let's start with the family. We have a big family. My wife and I, 24 years married. That's rare these days. 10 kids. Yes, double-digit kids.
Wow.
With one marriage and one family. No twins, as my wife jokes. So we love having the babies. We love children. And as my wife says, maybe that's why we love hospitality investing, because we buy resorts now. And our expertise went originally. I was a teacher at one point, lived in Europe, ran a study abroad program, which was in a 700-year-old hotel, which was once a monastery at one point. And we lived in Austria for 4 years and had that cultural experience in the early 2000s, came back and became a land developer. I had to figure out a way in. So I'm a little bit of a hustler like you were with your hyper-fast story, being the condo sales guy you were at first. Just met every developer I could and finally became a land developer in 2006. But we were doing something very rare at the time. It was beachfront flips at $6 to $8 million a piece. So
wow.
Crazy flips. And I'm talking about single family houses here. So the challenge is that business doesn't exist during the 2008 crash, as you could imagine. And from that point forward, we've been entrepreneurial, involved in things like I bought a franchise once. And then we found our calling in life. And that was around 2012, working with very high net worth people. We helped them figure out how to get rid of their problem. And their problem was, at the time, they had bought a beachfront hotel. In order to turn it into condos, they bought it before the crash of 08. And here it is, 2012. They're stuck with it. It was a dilapidated 1970s hotel. And what we did is we came up with a dream. We said, what if we could be the house flippers that become the hotel flippers? And we're great architectural teams. We're great design teams, great project teams. What if we could do this to every Eastern Shore property that is way out of date? Anywhere in the East, East Coast is full of old buildings on the water that should be new. And so we thought, we're hotel flippers now. Well, after a year of doing that, we became operators of resorts. And that's where we find ourselves today. We're a passionate team of operators that run beach resorts the way you, Dan, and Carrie, and everybody listening want to be treated. We say we try to treat you as soon as you walk on property like you've come home and that you have infinite dignity and worth, and we treat you with respect. And that has made us famous in the world of hospitality management. And today, after 8 years of doing that for very, very, very wealthy people, like mega wealthy, we've learned how to allow everybody to invest with us side by side and own these buildings. And so that's why our growth is astronomical right now. We're buying these buildings with the listeners today. Almost everybody listening could be an investor with us. You don't have to be a mega wealthy person anymore. And that's what we're famous for is we've basically made it possible to own dream resorts at a $50,000 at a time clip.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are flipping hotels and resorts like some guys flip small houses. So it's pretty cool to see that, and pretty cool to see you democratize the process and make it available to people that normally couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, the things you think of the pretty hotels you've ever been to, and you figure out who the owner is. It's actually not hotels, not Marriott's. Those are typically held by large funds and big groups of like maybe even the Carlyle groups of this world. But when you find that special hotel, that one that you want to tell all your friends about, whether it's a winery resort or waterfront, they're probably owned by a family typically. And sometimes if they're really good, they're owned by a mega wealthy family. If they're beat up, they're owned by a family that's struggling. And so we kind of live in this world where we're kind of corporatizing in a good way the acquisition of mom and pops, and we're making them those trophy properties that really you and I growing up the way we did with family and making our own businesses, you and I, we would have never dreamed we could own these glorious properties. But now, again, making it available to all of us to buy these.
Yeah, it's really cool. I've been involved in a couple of them, and I'm excited about the next ones you've got coming up. One thing I want to hit at before we dive too much in the business is the 10 kids. I mean, I've got 4. I've got 4, and they wear me out, and that's with that's with some really amazing help as well. How do you do it with 10, or at a certain point does it just like kind of become like the older ones help out, or I don't know how does that work?
Well,
how do you guys do it?
We don't do it well. I mean, I think we do it okay. We're above swimming, right? Our water, we're getting air. We're just above the water line. We're not. There's things we're doing well. I'm very grateful, and other things we're struggling at. But let me lay it out. So we have a 21-year-old, so that helps. But she's away. But then we do have a bunch of teenagers. We have a few drivers in the family. So once you get all that kind of math magic happening, this is where management skills come in. And we're big believers in lowest common authority, or whatever you want to call that, subsidiarity. So if you're 5, you're way big enough to watch the 1-year-old right now, because all he wants to do is throw a ball. So sit there. If you're 10, you're totally fine to clean the kitchen and cook some dinner. Let's go. My favorite thing was coming down when my boy Charlie, who's our middle guy, was first time ever going to first grade. And, so finally from kindergarten, he jumps up, he's wearing that little shirt with a tie. If you go to a private school, and he's cooking eggs. I'm like, damn, that's pretty cool. Wow. First day of first grade, he's cooking eggs for himself and his brother. So like, that's what's going on in our house. It's a lot.
How does he make them? Fried, scrambled, omelet?
Fried. We're fried family here. Wow. Not necessarily fried. Once over, my friend. Once over. We don't like all the yolk, just some of it.
Yeah.
Hey, hold that thought for a minute. Are you a real estate agent in the DMV area, or thinking about becoming a real estate agent in the DMV area? Why not join the highest selling team in the DMV? The Carrie Scholl team is hiring more agents. We have the best training systems, the best culture, and the best environment to get you to the next level, whether that's starting out and getting to 6 figures, or getting from 6 figures to 250, or to $500,000, or even beyond. Go to CarrieSchollCareers.com. Again, that's CarrieSchollCareers.com.
Yeah, that's amazing to see. Well, I first really got involved with your project up in New Jersey, and it's crushed it, and that's despite the pandemic, right? Like, not many people would think a hotel would that's like starting up, in 2019, or kind of that's when you
that's right,
took over. Most people wouldn't think that would do well, but what's going on with that?
Well, I appreciate you asking that. Yeah, I mean, let's build some credentials. So our company that everybody joins us and invests is called Accountable Equity. 2 words, Accountable Equity. And we went out and found this first glorious property. I actually have the video of when you and Carrie spent a day touring it with me while we owned it, but we didn't start construction really yet. And boy, it's cool to see you guys. I think you were having your third baby at the time.
You're on number 3 then. Yeah, number 3 was like a month away.
Yeah, it was so cool. Carrie's such a Carrie reminds me of Melanie. There's some similarities. She just grabs a kid and goes and does stuff. So we do have a baby in tote right now when we're taking all these tours. But what we bought up here was something that should have been crushed by the pandemic. It was a winery resort, wedding venue concept and resort, which with golf course. But we just pivoted. You know, we're entrepreneurs at heart, so we just went outdoors. Remember Corona, the only thing you were legally allowed to do was be outside at one point. So we built an outdoor village, and it started doing great in the summer. I should say an outdoor restaurant, like 5 acres of restaurant. We're not talking like a hallway outside. We're talking big, and we did fire pits. And so that did great. We actually had the best months the property had ever had in July and August after Corona. So we said, in Corona, remember Corona shut us down. We finally are legally allowed to open up in like July up here in the Northeast. And we're barely allowed to open, right? Very few tables, everybody wearing masks. Well, then the winter came and we pivoted to the winter festival, which we learned from living in Austria, where you had the fire pits and the hot wine, they call it Glühwein over there. And you have huts with vendors and you have ice skating. And that did crush it. We were in the Wall Street Journal on the December 31st, 2020. We were in every morning show was here. I was ice skating. Well, I didn't actually have to ice skate. I just got to stand on the ice and watch people ice skate with all the hosts of all the morning shows. It was a big time.
You actually on the fly like built an outdoor ice.
Yes, we did.
To get people to come and spend time outdoors and, you know, still be able to do the food and drink. How did you build an outdoor ice rink? Like,
this is like you though, man. I'm all about teams. So we gathered up our entertainment teams. We're big at entertainment, so we have a lot of concerts and cool stuff outside. And that team helped us Google, and we used the Google, and we did through 2 phone calls. We found somebody that was willing to broker a outdoor ice rink to us. And then we raised the money by letting the amusement entertainment guys front the money, which was hundreds of thousands of dollars to build the ice rink in exchange for returns on their money. And so we all just took a big risk. We built the outside village, which was hundreds of thousands of dollars. And but in return, in just a few months, we brought in $3 million in the winter. So we well paid back everybody.
So what was that, like a 6-7x on your investment, or?
Yeah. If you could think, it was probably 10x. It was a 10x. 10x. Because what happened was by doing that, first of all, it fulfilled our mission of treating people really well. And with great hospitality, people just tell everybody. I mean, we were having days. Remember, whoever's listening, if you love social distancing, we were social distance. If you love mask wearing, we were mask wearing. But we were outside, and we had like 1,000 people a day showing up. Now, they weren't all here at one exact minute, but they were here over the course of 12 hours, and that was legendary. And we just did that for months and months and months. We shut it down the last day of February.
Wow, that's amazing. That on the fly, and I remember that was never a part of the original business plan. And you know, you guys did that, and then I remember like beginning of the year when you held that investor call, and you're like, "Hey, good news, we're
making distributions, baby.
Yeah, we're paying out money.
We're paying out money." Very few people in our industry, even in multifamily, a lot of people paused. Everybody who does what we do just paused and said, hold on, let's get through the pandemic. And we said, no, we had sold $10 million worth of weddings. We had sold millions of dollars worth of ice skating and drinks. So we're like, no, the money goes back to the investors.
Yeah. And I think one thing that I have noticed throughout every time I interact with you is just a commitment to certain core values, whether it's the clients, the investors. You really seem to have making that your mission for
Amen.
Personally and your companies to really deliver to the people that you're promising value to.
Yeah. You know, thank God we have an unfair advantage, brother. You and we do in our company, because we put the mission in the name, accountable equity. We know if I'm an investor, I'm watching what's going on. And so we don't hide anything. We put everything on the internet. First of all, we're hotels, so it's always going to be on the internet. And it's open 365. So if you're an investor and you want to see how we're doing, just come on down. And so we knew that going into it. So we allowed unlike other people who do what we do, where they raise money, they want you to leave them alone for a year, a couple years or something. But for us, we kind of were able to flip that switch and say, well, we're in the hospitality business. If you're an investor, you're VIP here, man. You're VIP. So yeah, that helped us. It's kind of a mental conditioning. You had to say, we're in this business of hospitality. Therefore, I call it investor hospitality too. But thank you for saying that. It's exactly what we want you to feel, is that you're treated well and respected. And we're very grateful to have you as an investor.
So how for the people who've never done this or heard of this or really understand it, like how does it work for the average person out there that's like, hey, I like what Josh is doing. I like this concept of boutique hotels that provide amazing service and do the weddings. I want to own part of it. How do they do it?
Yeah. This is special, guys. 4 years ago, when I was working for the ultra wealthy, I didn't know this was allowed either. But it's a SEC, Securities Exchange and Commission. We use one of those types of lawyers, and we put together what is called a fund. We've all heard of these. Normally only the billionaire hedge funds is what you think of, but no, we put together a small scale fund, and it allows owners to buy equity in the fund. Now, what that just means is the fund is what owns the buildings, right? So you're owning the building, one contribution at whatever scale you can afford. 50,000 is usually our minimum. And what happens is unlike stock market. So if those of you who are listening today, you're all in some form of real estate, whether you're a brokerage or sales agent. Hopefully you've all bought a building too, maybe one investment property for yourself. As soon as you walk through the mirror glass, the Alice in Wonderland glass, and you understand real estate's so different than stock market. So even though we're selling a fund which owns buildings, it's not like Wall Street. We're not selling Wall Street stock here. You're owning the equity of a building, which means tax losses, depreciation, powerful wealth building stuff that you've always heard the Rockefellers talk about. Like you've heard that the richest people in the world know how to do this. We make that available to everybody. So as soon as you invest, you might own a $50,000 portion of this business and this building, but you're going to get passive losses called depreciation, which will offset your income that you make from us. And hopefully you get to benefit from that magical real estate incentive of not having tax liabilities. I know this is mind bending. If you've only ever bought stock, this is going to change your mind on the rest of your life. You'll probably do what I've done and pull out of stocks and buy more and more real estate. And that's why people like us who are selling direct access to real estate, but no work, is a game changer, right? You don't have to actually go check the toilet paper in this hotel room. We'll do that for you, but you own it. You own it. So you're making the money off that $400 a night room rent. And here, let me say one last analogy, because over the last 2-3 years, I've been trying to explain this to even my own family. And it's hard to understand, like, what's the difference between giving 50 grand to Wall Street and buying a mutual fund, or 50 grand to us and buying in on a property? Couple things, man. Wall Street, you're giving it to them. I always say you're buying a goose, and you want that goose to get fatter and fatter so that when you're retired or 5 years from now, when you need to buy something, it's a fat goose. And then you
laying big eggs,
but you have to eat it. But well, that's the thing. What we're doing is a goose that lays eggs. So, if you buy Wall Street, you get a goose that lays no eggs. You have to cut its head off and eat it. And then you have no goose left, but you got a fatter goose. In our business, we got a goose that gets fatter every year and lays eggs and gives you money every year. Cash flow investing will change your life. That's one way to do it. One way to explain it. Those are the big pictures. The little picture, it's as easy as going on our website and buying equity. That's how easy it is. So it's like complex in one way, super easy on the methodology of how to do it. And it's something that we have felt committed to teaching hundreds and hundreds of people to do. So that's why whenever you're an investor or even an inquiring investor, you can come and go to trainings with us. We call them Learn and Grows. Dan's speaking at the next one, I believe. This guy right here, Lesniak. So we don't think you have to know everything before you join us. We'll teach you a lot of things.
And what's if someone wants to get in on it, what's the minimum that they have to invest? Like, do they have to put in like $1 million or?
Great question. That's how it normally is, but not here. No, 50,000 is where we like to start an ownership piece. And the part is, you got to remember this, we're buying hold people. And so our dream is that you are excited about that your 50 grand goes in now, you start making money on your money. Then we try to refinance the building and give you back all your money. We try to do that within 5 years. And this is another mind bender. What if you had all your money back plus been profit for 5 years? Would you be happy? Yes. What if you still owned the building? And that's real estate for you, buddy. So we're not necessarily trying to buy and sell, flip these buildings. We're trying to buy, restore, and keep these buildings. And so
you're doing like the Burr. You're like the Burr.
We're the
buy, rehab, rent, refi, repeat. Most people do this on like singles or duplexes, but you guys are doing it on pretty large hotels, like 8-figure, hotels.
Yeah, and you, whoever you are, own it, and you get to keep it in the Burr. We're not trying to flip your hotel and get you out. We're trying to keep you in. So it's perpetual equity, and it's very game changing.
Yeah, I mean that's exciting to, I think just to be available to so many people out there. What's next? I know.
Oh, thanks for asking.
Yeah, I know you've got Renault, and that's crushing it. You've got another hotel we haven't talked about yet over on Eastern Shore, but I know you're also looking at a bunch of other stuff too. So like, what's next?
Our game plan is like you. We believe in the DC metropolitan market, so we're not trying to buy in DC. That's not necessarily our niche. But our niche is resort or getaway from DC. So Eastern Shore is really attractive to us. The mountains, the Shenandoah, the Skyline Drive area is very attractive to us. Even Williamsburg and markets down there are attractive to us. So we have a lot of geography force around Washington, DC. We also see ourselves in Florida, and we're flying to Florida on Monday to look at some properties. So we're Eastern Shore for an Eastern Seaboard. We're up here in New Jersey. We're buying a coastal property up here in New Jersey as well. And like I said, Eastern Shore of Maryland, the mountains of Virginia, and Williamsburg of Virginia seem very smart for us, and our clients want to be there, and our investors are very excited about those areas.
Hey, hold that thought. Do you want to get 100 tips for free from my best-selling real estate book, The Hyperlocal HyperFast Real Estate Agent? If you do, go to hyperfasttips.com and you can download 100 of my best tips today. Again, that's hyperfasttips.com. You can download 100 tips on how to grow your business, get more clients, deliver more value to more people. Go to hyperfasttips.com.
I think your model plays well into behavior shifts that we've seen during COVID and the response to it. People want to be outdoors more. They're not necessarily getting on planes as much. So you're within driving distance to, a lot of major cities. So it seems like you're playing very well.
We're playing into that,
where the market's going. And I think some of these behavior changes will outlast the pandemic. Like people, they kind of learned a new way to vacation, a new way to spend time with family, and it might not necessarily go back to the same degree it was before.
You're absolutely right, and we all know there's positive inbounding migration to the Washington D.C. market, and we also know that they have a disposable income on the weekends or weddings. We sell probably the most weddings in America. Don't take that the wrong way. It's good for our investors, but we are extremely successful at selling weddings. Our Kent property has passed its entire year pro forma of wedding sales in 3 months, which is the Eastern Shore, and we're still going. So we're like you. We're hawks about great service and great sales. So we're doing what the market wants, and it's drive to for most people in America. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's cool to see if you're a real estate agent or a real estate investor. This is a great play because it combines the power of real estate with a person and the whole team really that's committed to providing great service to the client. So when you combine that with real estate, it's just magical, I think, what happens.
Dude, thank you so much, Dan. That's exactly how I feel about it. I'm glad you're watching it. And you have watched it. For like 2 years, you've been part of our team, and you've watched our updates and our videos and our lives. And I appreciate you doing all that, man.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it as well. Just seeing it from mostly the outside, but a little on the inside. It's been fun. Before we wrap up today, I always like to do the hyper-fast round. If you're ready for some rapid-fire questions and answers, all right. What's your biggest piece of advice to a new real estate investor?
You know what? It is networking, and I think the grid group that's in the DC market. If you can get there, get there. So networking, and at first you're there investing in people, yourself, and then you're using cash. So I always say start with human capital, develop that, and then cash capital comes. So get there and find out where you can add value.
What's a mistake that you see experienced real estate investors make?
Maybe being too myopic on one key factor in the analysis. I don't want to criticize anybody else because I have plenty of faults that we're working on, but one of the ways we analyze is we try to be holistic. What is the business doing today, the real estate asset, and what could it be, and where's the trend going, and do our skills fit all that? And I think some people just say, if it's making $100,000 in rents as let's say a small hotel building or office building, it's not good enough for me. Well, is it because it's not been fractionalized enough or whatever? So being too myopic on one key factor.
What's a business challenge you've had before that was hard at first, but you overcame, and how did you do it?
Yeah. It was my first failed business was, and actually, thank God, the only failed business was a franchise purchase. And I thought marketing and a cool brand was good enough. It's not, man. Sales. So I fell in love with sales. And the key thing to do, if you're sitting here and you're obviously a real estate agent, maybe the sales part is not your strength, perhaps the service part, perhaps the due diligence. You've got to embrace sales. Everyone, honestly, our entire team, we teach a program here called Sales Are Sacred. And we teach it as, if we don't make a sale, then even the people downline from us don't get to eat. So there's one trick. I would have you grab the easiest book of all time to read by Og Mandino, the greatest salesman in the world. Og Mandino takes 2.5 hours to read. Please read it.
Great advice. When you're not working on accountable equity and all of your resorts, what would we find you doing for fun?
We have one great family getaway, and that is the lakes near Saranac Lake. Oh, so I'm sorry, like near Lake Placid in the Adirondack Mountains. That's what you're going to find us out there doing. Typically, it's relaxing on water out there in the lakes, but we love water anywhere.
Awesome. Last question. Where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
We have a very clear vision, or some people call it a vivid vision. By that point, we're somewhere along our path to 100 resorts. Probably 10 years from now, we're over 50. And the reason we're moving to 100 resorts, ultimately, I say give us 15 years, and we're already burned 2, so I have 13 years left, is because at 100 resorts, believe it or not, we'll be the same scale as Four Seasons or Ritz-Carlton. And we all in the whole world knows those two brand names. So it only takes about 100 resorts for the whole world to know our resort brand, which is Viva May, which means revive the soul. And that's what we were called to do, is to revive the soul of hospitality. So that's our life's mission. We're going to get there.
Well, thank you, Josh. I cannot wait to see that happen. This has been an amazing episode. Thank you for everything that you shared. If people want to connect with you or get in touch with you or just learn more about what you're doing, how should they do that?
Yeah, my favorite, please, everybody, there's no commitments here. You can start joining our learning community at Accountable Equity, 2 words, spelled out the way you think it is, accountableequity.com. Grab anytime you want with us. We have a contact sheet there. We all respond within minutes, and we would love to attract more good people to learn about this type of investing.
All right. please go to accountableequity.com. Check out what Josh is doing, and just he's got a lot of free resources and information there, so it will benefit you if you're an investor. Thank you everyone for listening today and tuning in. Thanks for being on the show, Josh. And remember to like, comment, and share this with someone that you think could benefit. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the HyperFast Show. Subscribe to us if you want to make sure you get the latest and greatest HyperFast shows. And remember, we love reviews. Reviews help us bring better and better guests and improve our shows. So give us the good, the bad, and the ugly. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time.
Hey guys, thanks for sticking around to the end. I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you want to see more, click right here. And if you want 100 real estate tips from my best-selling book, click right here to download them instantly. And if you're new to this channel, click below to subscribe and turn on post notifications so you don't miss out. And leave some comments about what you think on the videos.